Welcome back. Today we are looking at a transcript called The CIA's Secret Revealed. It's a really deep dive into the gateway process, hemisync, and where quantum physics meets spirituality.
It is a fascinating piece of material, but we should probably jump right in because there's a, let's call it structural fracture that we need to talk about.
Okay.
It's the shift from what feels like an intelligence dossier into something more like a spiritual sermon. And that creates a real disconnect.
Right, I see that. It seems like a core challenge here is holding on to that sense of authority while completely switching genres, you know?
Exactly.
The script is great at hooking. It comes out swinging with CIA secrets and tactical dominance. But then it risks losing that sharp, analytical reader when it suddenly pivots into this spiritual guru persona.
That is the issue, 100%. The shift is just way too fast. You start with this really serious language, intelligence gathering, strategic dominance.
Data collect.
Yeah, you're gearing up for a spy thriller, basically. Or at least a technical brief. But then halfway through, the narrator's telling you to hum.
And visualize energy balloons.
Right. It feels like a total bait and switch. I mean, is there a risk the listener, who's an expert here, feels like they were promised this Cold War history lesson and instead got sold a meditation course?
I think so. The promise is operational, but the delivery becomes very mystic. So how do we fix that? I think the suggestion is to keep that intelligence framework as an anchor.
Okay.
Through the whole piece. Even when you're getting into the spiritual stuff, you have to frame those tools as operational assets, not just awakening.
Precisely. Let's make that concrete. Take resonant tuning. The text describes it as a way to calm the nervous system.
Sounds like something from my yoga app.
It does. But what if we tie it back to the CIA's goal, their need for operational capability? You could describe the humming not just as calming, but as, say, calibrating the biological instrument for data collection.
Ooh, that's good.
See? Now you're keeping the reader in the mindset of an analyst on a mission, not someone just winding down for the night.
It totally reframes the experience. Suddenly the humming isn't about feeling good, it's about optimizing the hardware.
Yes, you have to honor the frame you establish. If you say this is about intelligence, then the body is hardware. Calling it a vessel of light halfway through is a genre break.
So what about the energy conversion box? I mean, as I understand it, the idea is you put your worries in this imaginary box.
Right. It's a standard therapy metaphor. But does it fit the tone of a declassified CIA document? Not really.
So what's the alternative?
Instead of just stress relief, you could frame it as clearing signal interference. The script even mentions signal-to-noise ratio, but then just drops it.
Ah, so you lean into that metaphor.
You commit to it. You keep using analyst vocabulary, words like protocol, interference, baseline, bandwidth, even in the softer section. It keeps the tone consistent.
It makes the instruction feel purposeful. It's not put your fear in a box so you feel better. It becomes isolate the fear frequency so it doesn't jam the signal.
So much stronger. It appeals to that expert reader who wants mechanics, not just feelings. You're turning a soft skill into a hard skill.
Okay, let's move on. The technical arguments. I mean, the piece uses things like quantum entanglement and Planck distance to, validate the experience, but it seems to conflate metaphor with actual causality a lot.
This is a huge area for improvement, a really critical one. The script essentially claims that because quantum entanglement is real, telepathy is therefore a proven fact of physics.
Which is a massive leap.
A huge leap. It uses phrases like not metaphysical poetry, just neurobiology, but then it immediately presents these highly speculative ideas, tachyons, time travel, and Focus 15, as if they're absolute truth.
Right. That's fine if you're preaching to the choir, but for a skeptical reader.
It undermines the whole thing. The text says it's taking a middle path between science and subjective delusion, but it doesn't. It jumps straight to the metaphysical deep end.
I do like the ambition, though. Trying to link physics and spirit is the whole point. The execution just needs more nuance. The suggestion here is to use bridge length.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
Language that clearly separates the established scientific principles from the implications the gateway process draws from them. You have to be really precise about where the physics ends and the theory begins.
Exactly. I mean, look at the lamp versus the laser analogy. It's brilliant.
It's a perfect analogy, yeah.
It perfectly explains coherence. But then you get to the Planck distance section, and the text just states, as fact, that consciousness clicks out of time-space.
And the fix is simple.
It's so simple. Just rewrite it to say, the gateway protocols theorize that consciousness operates in the Planck intervals. Don't state it as settled physics.
That one word theorize does so much heavy lifting there.
It really does. It makes the author sound like an objective reporter, not a true believer. It signals intellectual honesty.
It tells the reader, look, I know this is wild, but it's the working theory.
Which is much easier to accept than physics proves time travel. A scientifically literate reader just tunes out at that point.
And I'm guessing the same thing applies to the holographic universe section?
I think so. And that section could be so strong if it was just framed correctly. When you're talking about Pribram and Bohm, just acknowledge that the holographic universe is a model.
Not the consensus reality.
Right. It's a model used to explain the experience. And that, paradoxically, makes the argument stronger because you're respecting the reader's intelligence. You're saying, here's a scientific model that fits our data. Not, science proves we are right. That builds trust.
Okay, let's shift gears. The focus levels, 10, 12, 15, 21, the descriptions are vivid, but they're missing a strong so what? What's the practical utility?
Yeah. Is that connection ever really made? You get this nice tour of the levels. Focus 10 is body asleep, mind awake. Focus 15, no time. But they're treated like, tourist destinations.
Like sightseeing?
Exactly. It completely misses the opportunity to explain why a CIA analyst would care about Focus 15. The government didn't fund this so agents could experience timelessness for fun. They're not in the spiritual tourism business.
The listener needs to understand the return on investment. So the suggestion is to tie every focus level back to a concrete a utility.
Yes. And you can use the remote viewing stories mentioned later in the text to do it.
So give me an example.
Okay. Focus 15, the no-time state. The text gets all poetic about rivers and landscapes. It's nice, but it's vague.
Right.
So link it immediately to that later mention of predicting geopolitical events. You show that Focus 15 is the mechanism for that kind of intelligence gathering. The analyst goes to Focus 15 in order to see the future outcome of a coup.
Now that is concrete, and it explains the budget.
It makes the no-time idea terrifyingly practical. It's not a philosophical concept anymore. It's an intelligence weapon.
And what about Focus 12?
Same logic. It's described as expanded awareness. A lovely image, but you need to tie it directly to the problem-solving application. That's mentioned way at the end.
Don't wait.
Don't wait. Weave the benefit right into the description of the state. Say something like, this expanded state is where the analyst accesses solutions to uncrackable codes. Now the reader gets it. It's not just about feeling big. It's about accessing blocked information.
So it turns the focus levels into a tool belt. Focus 10 is your hammer. Focus 12 is your wrench. You pick the right state for the job.
And that clicks perfectly back into that operational framework we talked about at the start. It keeps it all grounded in utility.
Which brings us to the tone and how the narrator talks to the audience. The script makes this really important point about spiritual ego, about not feeling superior. But then the final third of the script, it kind of does the opposite. It adopts this preachy, superior tone.
It is a contradiction, isn't it? It warns you against feeling special or chosen, which is great advice. But then it turns around and divides the world into those who are awake and most people locked in consensus reality.
That us versus them dynamic.
Right. It claims most people are hemorrhaging energy. That kind of language undermines the core message of unity. You can't say we're all one consciousness while looking down your nose at the sleeping masses.
It's like the tone shifts from an invitation to a judgment. So the suggestion here is to soften that binary, that hard line between the awakened reader and the sleeping masses.
How would you do that?
Focus on the potential in everyone, not the failure of the majority.
Okay, I like that. So for that consensus reality part, instead of saying most people don't realize how much energy they're hemorrhaging, which sounds very diagnostic.
Like you're the doctor and they're the patient?
Exactly. You could rephrase it as the human condition often involves energy loss through. It depersonalizes it. It's about the system, not the failings of your neighbors. It becomes an act of empathy, not separation.
It's a subtle change, but it removes the arrogance. It admits we're all in the same boat, dealing with the same signal interference, to go back to our earlier.
And the call to action. That's another friction point. It asks for comments like, I am consciousness operating beyond limitation.
Oh boy.
To be blunt, it feels like a YouTube engagement hack dressed up in spiritual clothes. It sort of cheapens the profound message that came before it. It feels performative.
A bit like asking for a like and subscribe, but trying to make it sound holy.
Yes. So replace it. Make it an internal, reflective challenge that doesn't need a public performance. Ask the listener to just say that to themselves. Silent. That aligns so much better with the whole inner work theme. The power is in the realization, not the public comment.
Let's talk about the ending, the structure. It's too long. It's repetitive, and it really dilutes the impact of those strong holographic universe arguments.
Oh, completely. The script ends like 3 or 4 times. You get the CIA revealed reality summary, which is a great place to stop. But then
It keeps going.
it goes into a sales pitch for a guide, then a breathing exercise, then a lecture on indigenous wisdom, then collective evolution, then another visualization. The energy just fizzles out. It's like a guest who says goodbye, but then stands in your doorway for 20 minutes.
Okay, but there is good stuff in there. I really like the actor versus character metaphor. That's powerful.
It's the strongest part of the conclusion, but it gets buried. So the suggestion is simple. Consolidate. Pick one strong ending note. That actor versus character metaphor is it. Cut the extra philosophizing that comes after.
That metaphor is the mic drop moment. It's the whole journey in one image. You are not the role you're playing. You're the consciousness behind it.
So what do we do with the practical stuff, like the breathing techniques? They're useful.
Good question. You move them. The 4-4-6-2 breathing technique, the energy balloon, that's instructional manual stuff.
It doesn't belong in the philosophical conclusion.
Exactly. Move it to an appendix, or maybe a dedicated tools section earlier on, right after the hemisync explanation. It's how-to content, not why it matters. It just kills the momentum at the end.
And the very final line? Right now it just kind of trails off.
It ends with this long paragraph about subscribing to this frequency. It feels a little too much like marketing.
The most powerful image in that whole conclusion is the quote, "The apartment had a door I'd never noticed."
That's visceral.
It captures the entire essence of the gateway process, discovering a new space where you thought there was just a wall. End on that. Cut the pleas for shares and likes. Just let the audience sit with that image of the open door.
Leaves the listener with a feeling of possibility, not a to-do list.
Exactly. It respects the gravity of what you just shared.
So that brings us to the end. The source material is so rich. I mean, that lamp versus laser imagery, the breakdown of the protocols, it's engaging. But to really elevate it, the author needs to bridge that gap between spy thriller and spiritual guide.
And be more precise with the science metaphors, and definitely tighten up that ending to avoid the preaching.
My final piece of actionable advice would be this. Go back through the script and highlight every single time the voice switches from reporter to guru.
Because you're wearing 2 hats.
Yes, and you need to rewrite those transitions so the reporter stays the narrator, just objectively observing the guru's technique. Don't become the guru yourself, or at least don't do it until you've earned the reader's absolute trust.
Or maybe just let the reporter describe the methods without ever adopting the guru's voice at all.
We invite you to revise the transcript with these points in mind and send in the next version. We'd love to see how you tighten that operational focus. Thanks for listening.